Shamil Idriss is the CEO of the Search for Common Ground, the world's largest dedicated peace-building organization. He joins me now from Washington, D.C. Great to see you. You've led search efforts to end violent conflict in more than 35 countries, including some of the most devastating conflict zone in the Middle East and Africa. As you look back over the past 2-3 weeks in Israel and the Palestinian territories, the big question is, how do you even attempt to try and start to build peace in a place where it's been so elusive over the past few decades?
Well, thank you, Robin, for having me. This conflict, as much as any other, is oftentimes viewed from the outside as being stagnant or frozen. But in fact, there have been big shifts, and I'll just name 3 of them right now. One is within Israel. You know, the intercommunal violence that played out over the last couple of weeks is a new phenomenon. It's not altogether surprising for those who've been raising the alarm about the fissures in Israeli society for some time, but it will likely force Israeli politicians of all parties to articulate their visions for an Israel that is actually representative and healthy for all of its citizens, as well as on good terms with its neighbors. Within the Palestinian communities, we saw the coordinated strikes and protests in Israel, in the West Bank, in Gaza, and in the diaspora. This renewed solidarity was largely the result of the inflammatory way that this crisis evolved, particularly with images of soldiers in the Al-Aqsa Mosque. But it points to the fact that this conflict and their plight cannot simply be swept under the rug, or bypassed. And that brings me to the third development, which is really the broader regional context and also the U.S. role. The Abraham Accords were met with a great deal of ambivalence, the accords that opened up diplomatic relations between Israel and a number of Arab states. Many welcomed them because a thaw in relations is always welcomed. But others were concerned that as, those accords did not make any mention of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, that they were in some ways an attempt to sort of bypass or put the Palestinians in a situation of weakness and isolation. Nevertheless, the states that signed those accords and opened up diplomatic relations could perhaps become conduits for a renewed diplomatic effort in the region.
In these kinds of situations, leadership is so important. How do you sometimes overcome a disconnect between what populations, doesn't matter which one it is we're talking about here, what populations and people want, and the way politicians are making strategic decisions?
Well, it's interesting that you raise that. What we're seeing with conflicts all around the world is both the return of big power politics, and conflicts between states, but also the increase of people power. And we saw both at play in this latest crisis. We saw how things were mobilized on social media, both within Israel and within Palestinian communities, and the role that leaders played. One has to recognize that the ceasefire, probably would not have come about without the mobilization of international and diplomatic pressure. It seems to be the case, both in the region and from outside. And it is, unfortunately, the reality, that more pressure will probably have to be brought to bear in order to incentivize a serious and sustained peace process that can yield a real just and permanent solution to this conflict.
In such deeply divided societies, such toxic polarization, what is the one thing that is needed?
Well, trust. And trust is not something that can be fast-tracked. Peace everywhere moves at the speed of trust. And trust is built, yes, through dialogue, but more importantly, through action. And those actions have to meet the needs of the people. And, one of the reasons that peace building itself has a bit of a dirty word in this region is because of the relative lack of progress on this particular conflict more than any other. And so what we have to see is that trust that is built on real actions that have a positive impact on people's lives. And we have to recognize the fact that that lack of progress doesn't simply lead to a stagnant situation, but we've seen the steady erosion of the possibility of a two-state solution, which for decades has been seen as the most viable solution. And whatever the ultimate political solution will be, it's going to have to rely and will only be sustained if it's built on a foundation of trust. So, it might seem foolish to be thinking about trust at a time like this, but every conflict does end, and no conflict ends without the building of trust. And we have to start somewhere.
Shamil Idriss, appreciate you joining us here on CNN. Thank you so much for your perspective and sharing it.
Thank you.